as far as the business of boxing?
The best thing is a fighter needs to take almost everything.
You paid all that money and had the biggest stage in boxing on Netflix, and that is really the best they could do?
He knew that he could not beat Bud Crawford, which is why they basically paid him $100 million.
Something about that fight didn't look right. When Canelo Alvarez stepped into the ring against Terence Crawford, millions expected a war. Instead, they saw hesitation. They saw slower movement. And they saw a champion who looked nothing like himself. Then came the moment nobody expected. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Canelo made comments that shocked the boxing world. Did he really hold back in the biggest fight of his career? And if he did, why? Because if what Canelo said is true, it could expose one of the biggest business secrets in modern boxing. When the fight finally happened, the stakes couldn't have been bigger. Canelo, the face of Mexican boxing. Crawford, one of the most technically gifted fighters alive. 2 pound-for-pound elites. But from the opening rounds, something felt off. Fans noticed immediately. Canelo barely used the jab that had defined his career. He didn't pressure Crawford the way he usually does. And the combinations that once overwhelmed opponents simply weren't there. Instead, single punches.
Well, how does that work? Because it's not pay-per-view. Do they still...
Netflix putting up the money.
So I'm saying, so they don't get no back end then?
No, there is no back end. There's ticket sales.
Yeah, because you know, pay-per-view, the back end is the most.
There's no pay-per-view.
I guess if you give me $50 million up front, I don't really care about a back end.
Completely taken control of the momentum. But the strangest part? The punch numbers were among the lowest of Canelo's entire career. At first, analysts blamed age. But then, Canelo spoke. During a conversation with Joe Rogan, Canelo began discussing the business side of boxing. And what he said raised eyebrows. He explained that modern fights are often structured around guaranteed purses rather than pay-per-view profits. Meaning fighters sometimes receive enormous upfront payments, instead of gambling on back-end revenue. According to the discussion, a fighter could receive tens of millions before the first punch is even thrown. And in that environment, the incentives change. Canelo hinted that business decisions sometimes shape how fights unfold.
He don't have the punching power, but he has the skills that's necessary.
Crawford.
Yeah.
So you were very impressed with his performance?
Well, yeah. You know, the point of the matter is, you know, I knew if it came down to if somebody got knocked out, I thought Crawford would probably get knocked out.
Yeah.
But
the comment immediately triggered speculation. Was the fight strategy really about boxing? Or about money? To understand why the comments caused controversy, you have to compare this performance to Canelo's prime. Against fighters like Gennady Golovkin, Canelo was relentless. Double jabs, sharp counters, constant pressure. But against Crawford? Those weapons disappeared.
When he got hit by Crawford and he took that deep breath, it's frustrating. Don't get me wrong. Canelo facing the right opponent that's going to stay in front of him, that's going to fight, that's going to make it a brawl, Canelo knocks him out. So I'm not saying Canelo's shot or done. No, it's far from it.
Veteran fighter Gabriel Rosado described it bluntly. Canelo looked flat-footed, throwing one punch at a time. That's not how elite champions fight. And that's why the reaction across the boxing world was immediate. People weren't just surprised. They were suspicious. One of the first voices to question the performance was former promoter Oscar de la Hoya. De la Hoya spent years promoting Canelo early in his career. He knows what Canelo looks like when he's at his best. And
watching Bud catch those shots off his glove,
he looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to, ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo. Ever.
Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is...
He posted a message that instantly went viral. What was that? I know Canelo was slow, but not that slow. De La Hoya even questioned whether Canelo had trained properly, or if something else had influenced the fight. His criticism fueled an already growing debate. Was this simply decline? Or something deeper? Not everyone believes the fight had anything to do with business. Some believe the answer is much simpler. Crawford was just better. Boxing legend Claressa Shields offered another explanation. She believes Canelo's body may simply be reaching its limits.
You've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
You just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
Oh, he's going to keep fighting.
He's going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Years of training camps. Hundreds of rounds of sparring. And a professional career that started when he was barely a teenager. Eventually, Every fighter slows down. And maybe this fight was simply the moment where Crawford's speed and adaptability exposed that reality. To understand why Crawford succeeded, you have to look at his style. Unlike most opponents Canelo faces, Crawford constantly switches rhythm. Southpaw. Orthodox.
For them, for his boxing business?
Because, the fighters always get the less money. And some of the fighters, they need to take the money, the guarantee money, right? Because they don't make a lot of money in the fights, right? But they
Angles. Distance control. It's a puzzle that many fighters simply cannot solve. Even Canelo admitted something important after the fight. He said he couldn't figure Crawford out. And once the fight reached the championship rounds, Crawford took over completely. Rounds 9 through 12 were decisive. Cleaner shots. Better defense.
You've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
Oh, he's going to keep fighting.
Is he going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win. Thank you.
And far more activity. For many judges and analysts, that stretch sealed the victory. Now the biggest question in boxing is simple. Should these two fight again?
we knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit.
Promoter Eddie Hearn believes a rematch could still be huge, because fans want to know one thing. Did Canelo really fight at full capacity? Or could adjustments change everything? Other fighters disagree. Some believe Crawford won decisively, and that a second fight would look exactly the same. But the business side of boxing may ultimately decide. Because one rematch between these two champions could generate hundreds of millions of dollars globally. For Canelo, the loss represents a critical turning point. He has been fighting at the highest level for more than 15 years. Multiple world titles, massive pay-per-view events, and one of the most successful careers in boxing history.
You see, Canelo is a strong fighter, and every punch he throws comes with power, right? That breaks down the body. Physically, his body is breaking down. Plus, he just had a kid. Canelo wants to go enjoy his life. He wants to keep his wits, keep his mind together, stay sharp, and go enjoy a little bit of that money that he just made. But he could not pass the torch to somebody that didn't respect the game. Canelo's at the top of the list.
But even legends face difficult choices. Some trainers believe it may be time for him to step away. Others think a new strategy, or even a new trainer, could extend his career. The decision now rests with Canelo himself. Does he chase redemption? Or does he walk away with his legacy intact, while Canelo faces questions?
I really want to see that. I don't think there will be much difference. I don't think Canelo can bring anything to the table that's going to surprise Crawford. He's a different fighter now. If this was 10 years ago, yes, I think the fight could have gone a different way. But there's no point in even thinking that, because Canelo's a different fighter now. They fought today. They fought when Crawford is older as well. So I can't be trying to say, well...
Terence Crawford suddenly finds himself in one of the most powerful positions in boxing. The victory elevated him into rare territory. A multi-division champion. And widely considered one of the best fighters alive. Now the sport is asking, who can challenge him next? Names like David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, and Artur Beterbiev have all been mentioned. Each fight would test Crawford in different ways. But they would also bring massive global attention. Because right now, Crawford is the hottest name in boxing, whether Canelo truly held back, or whether Crawford simply proved he was the better fighter. One thing is clear. This fight exposed something bigger than a single loss. Modern boxing is no longer driven only by championships. It's driven by money, timing, and global spectacle. And sometimes, those forces shape the fights we see in ways fans never realize. But if these two champions meet again, there will be no more questions. Because the rematch would answer the one thing everyone wants to know. What happens when both fighters give absolutely everything?
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But